Welcome to When the Music Mattered. My name is Rauth, and I will be your solo host for today. Ladies and gentlemen, let me please introduce to you the lead singer of Chasing the Fall, Andy. Andy, how are you?
How's it going? Are you okay?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. Do you ever feel pressure to be like content creators rather than musicians? And
All
how
the time.
do you balance that?
We set days, so we've got calendars, and we've got people's rosters in work, and we're trying to release a song, and it's about a money thing again. So iPhones are a massive help, by the way. The camera quality on there just takes away the need for a £2,000 camera, so that helps the budget a lot. But now it's just we set days. So if we've got a new song coming out, we need 60 short. We know we need 60 short form content videos. We need to make sure that we post twice a day. So every other Monday, me and Becky sit on a phone call for a couple of hours and plan out exactly what we're doing. Planning ahead is the only way it works. If you rush on the day, you might miss something.
Was there ever a post or a song clip that you put out there that really started gaining traction that you thought like, okay, like we kind of got this, we've kind of figured this out now?
Do you know what? My first ever TikTok got the highest views. It got 100,000 views. It had nothing to do with pop punk. I was singing "Bed of Roses" by fucking Bon Jovi, and that was just rehearsal. It was the first video that I ever posted, and it got 100,000 views. And I didn't even know how TikTok worked, but it was getting 100 views every 10 seconds. And I was like, oh shit, what's going on? But no, I think like the highest ones I've learned that it can't be so generalized. When we can put something out all the time and say, this is for fans of Blink 182. But then you can say something like, well, this is for anyone who's ever had their heart broken by this person, or anyone who's had to walk down a long, lonely path. And it's, stuff like that, really niche stuff. And that's how we gained it through the past 2 years. And they're not massive numbers. I think we've got about, I don't know, maybe 6,000 followers on TikTok, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things. But a lot of them are the same people, because that's who we connected with early on.
So as a show that follows around that interviews bands, we start to see trends, because as I said, I came from the sports world where I have a much more larger following, where when the hundreds of thousands of followers, that kind of thing. But we're talking about relevant news, so we don't have to find trends and do advertising. Like our titles alone, we're discussing this big breaking news, we're credible now, people find us. In the music world, this is a new Chris and I both do our own, we have our big stuff. This started as a side project, and it's now I'm kind of turning it into my main project. But like what I notice with bands there's trends, like if you're a fan of Blink 182, or oh, you found us on the algorithm, your ears must be built different. And I start to see all that stuff that all these different bands are doing, to the point that we have started copying you guys a little bit. You know what I mean? Like with the okay, well, if this is what the indie bands are doing, let's do it as the podcast. Like we're the podcast of the indie band, so we'll jump in there. And I'm sorry, I coughed and I lost my point. That's why I've been rambling here. So yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to ask. So when you're watching these trends, and we're doing the same thing, because in a way I find on social media we're almost competing against you guys, because we're putting ourselves in the same algorithm and in the same space. So how do you, as Chasing the Fall, how do you stand out in this crowded space? Like, what's the strategy and the mindset that you're following those trends, but also making sure people are like, because it's easy to think you've seen this already when you're seeing the same shit over and over and the same bands doing the same things. How do you make sure you guys are different?
Find a selling point. So the fact that we're from the UK and do pop punk, that works quite a lot. And not many pop punk bands play over here anymore, or they're all like the ones that we grew up with, like Blink and Sum 41 and New Found Glory. They're on like the last shows now over in the UK. So it's like people want that that nostalgia back. So tell them that you're from the UK and you're in a place near them soon. So if you did grow up with them bands, you've got 2025's version of them bands in a town near you that will be here for years and years and years to come.